My two elder sisters still live in Hobart. My brother has recently moved from Western Australia to the very northern part of Eastern Australia. As the fourth one, I got away with a lot more, which my sister, I'm sure, will gladly confirm. Or my sisters will gladly confirm, I should say.
Well, we've come from a very close family, two loving parents, mum and dad, very, very close, and we did so much together as children. We shared rooms, so yeah, we're a very close family.
But I always remember my sister having to come home and tell my parents that she was home, and I'm sure all her other friends were only just starting the party. The loss of my mother was a complete shock. It was nothing that anyone could prepare for, although I don't think anyone can prepare for a death, whether it's after a long illness or it's from an accident. And it certainly changes your perspective on life in many ways. And in the beginning, you cannot find any reason or any fairness in what has happened. Your experience of emotions is incredible. You experience every type of emotion in an extreme way, from anger to guilt. It's quite a turbulent time. Here's a beautiful picture of my mother. She was going to my aunt's wedding. Yeah, she looks beautiful. Mum and Dad. And I also remember the first time I got involved in horses. My mother had never been around horses, and she was quite scared of them. But she worked so hard at being comfortable around them because she knew how much I loved them, and she would come with me, and we'd go to horse events, and she would come with me and things. So she really got involved in her children as well, with what her children were doing. And I'm sure everyone would say exactly the same thing about their mother, but I don't think you could ask for yeah, a better mother. I don't know why it's so hard to tell when a camera's facing you. Okay, do I look like I've been crying now? Yes. My grandmother was also Mary Elizabeth Donaldson, so I was her namesake, and I admire her so much. For in her older age, she stayed such an independent person. She never wanted for anything, but she had such a simple life. But up until she became suddenly very ill, she was at adult education schools. She was at Scottish dancing. Even if she couldn't dance, she was watching. She was taking writing lessons. She was always doing something, and I admire her a lot for that. And we had quite a special relationship, although I'm sure every one of her grandchildren would say that, because she had that ability to make you feel special. But we used to write letters to each other, and we always communicate. We'd speak on the phone, but we always communicated by letter. And I would send her photos of what I was doing when I was living in Melbourne or Sydney or traveling the world, or wherever I may have been in the world. I would write letters to her, and she loved letters, and she had a beautiful hand as well. So to get letters from her was so wonderful. Actually, the last two trips we've been to Tasmania, we've taken the trip up to the east coast, to Coles Bay, and to walk into Wineglass Bay. It doesn't matter how many times you've done it, the beauty of the place just captures your heart each time. There's so much still to see in Tasmania, and I'm sure that we will continue to go back there, and every time we go back we'll take in a new and wonderful experience there.
Hvad? Det ligner en skole, Mary.
Det er min skole.
Barracks.
Barracks. Og så vi parkerer her, tror jeg. My brother and I followed each other quite closely through schooling. He's only 18 months older than me. So we were together at Sandy Bay Infants, and then we moved at the same time to Waimea Heights after that. And then, of course, I was at Waimea Heights and another year after he'd moved on to Taroona High School. But all of us went to Waimea Heights, Taroona High School, then on to Hobart College. Jeg vil her fra grade 7 til grade 10. Vi siger grade.
7. klasse?
7. klasse til 10. klasse. Og så jeg var færdig her, da jeg var næsten 16. Taroona High School was 4 years of when you really start to grow up, I think.
Ja.
Og så dagen var engelsk og musik i bygning C. One event that is very clear in my mind is a time that perhaps was a little bit embarrassing for myself, but also a time where I got a lot of support from my fellow students. And we were in advanced science. After I had been there for close to 2 years, I lost my mother, and that changed things quite a lot for me. Excuse me. I continued to work, of course. I went back to work quite quickly after my mother passed away, and but things in my head had changed a bit. I had a sense of that now is the most important time, and that it was no longer appropriate for me to put off things that I'd always dreamt of doing and follow one ambition solely. So after 6 months after my mother's death, I resigned from my work and I took off and traveled the world for 10 months. And not until I was on that plane with my backpack in the hole, sitting by myself on the plane, did I think, what have I done? Where am I going? And so I'd really taken myself out of any sense of stability just to wander a bit.
When she got to Edinburgh, where my family comes from, and of course she contacted many of her relatives there and had a great time with her relatives at that time. So she did in fact get a job in the area that she was working at in Melbourne before she came back to Australia. So in fact it was a working holiday rather than just a holiday.
But when I settled in Scotland, had my job, was spending, doing the normal daily routines, I suddenly realized I couldn't be so far away from my family. It was too early for me to be so far away. So I decided that I would continue my little journey after I finished my contract and continue home as a traveler. And to sit down and to wait until everyone grew silent. And the first words to come out of my mouth felt quite foreign.
Jeg vil gerne sige et par ord, før vi begynder. Jeg er meget glad for at være i Danmark. I dag er en meget spændende dag, så jeg er sikker på, at de kan forstå, at jeg er en lille smule nervøs.
But the balcony scene was something quite different to that. It also was a huge moment to see the crowds gathering outside. It's hard to put words on how I felt coming out onto the balcony. It, in one way, was a bit like an out-of-body experience, because these people were there to congratulate us. And to show their love for the royal family. But it was hard to see myself in that picture. To see the combination of Danish and Australian flags, flying energetically was just such a beautiful picture. And that feeling of warmth and acceptance and joy that people were feeling as we were feeling. A good marriage is a marriage that lasts forever. It's a marriage that continues to grow and develop as the individuals grow and develop. It's based on trust and respect and understanding. It's full of love and happiness. But a good marriage is one that grows and stretches and bends and takes the hurdles of life as it comes, and that the two people involved in the marriage work to make the road as smooth and joyful as possible. And without change you don't grow, and to grow is to live. So I think if you can truly say that as a person you develop and you have a level of contentment and you can love, that's what being happy is about.